Now, our topic today is really interesting. And for those of you that are business owners or considering to start up a business, this topic is really of essence, and it is the impact of branding and public relations for these times. Our guest today is Belle Johnson, a business strategist, the CEO of Vasaj Communications. Now, early in her career, Belle Johnson may have seemed like she was gunning for a future in politics. Belle Johnson started her career in Tallahassee, first serving as a Florida House Contract Communications representative during the 1993 legislative session for the Speaker, Belle Johnson. She returned to the State House in 2002 as a legislative analyst and later was promoted to Director of Constituent Services. But instead of staying on that path, which was amazing, she left politics after the 2006 legislative session and took a huge risk, just like women of guts and grace. Johnson started her own boutique marketing and public relations business, Vasaj Communications, right when the country hit an economic downturn. And it was a difficult start as companies' marketing budgets typically are the first to get the axe during an economic crisis. But Johnson persevered and helping clients find ways to cut costs and expenses internally without compromising the strength of their branding efforts, something that's so important for all business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders too. 10 years later, Vasaj Communications is thriving. In the past year, the firm's client base has grown to include the healthcare, entertainment, and construction industries, fast-growing and dominant sectors in Central Florida's economy. Hello, Belle. Thank you so much for being here and taking time from your very busy schedule. Please greet the audience.
Well, hello, everyone. And Evelyn, thank you. It's just such an honor to be able to be a part of your community today. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for being here. Now, I always start the podcast with this same question, and every woman I have interviewed has given the most amazing response to this, and everyone's unique. What did you play with when you were a child, and what did you want to be when you grew up? And did it in any way translate into who you've become today?
That's a funny question as I think about it. I used to climb trees and I loved it. I know my parents hated it, but whenever I wanted to get away from everyone, just to have some quiet time, I would go out and I'd find a tree and I'd climb as high as I could. You know, I had these long legs because I grew tall and fast, right? So I would climb a tree and perch myself on a branch and just sit and look out over everyone and just kind of, you know, find peace within that way. Yeah, you know, it takes a lot of courage to be a tree climber.
It does. I don't remember doing that myself. Maybe some branch that was lowered to the ground, but not really going too high up there, because I think I was afraid of heights, and my mom was always sure to be there and convinced me to come down anyway. So that wasn't something I tried. So I do admire that you did that. And I know how wonderful it is to be in nature. So if you found peace in climbing a tree, more power to you.
Yeah, you know, it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. Now, going back to what I shared about your bio, you transitioned from a career that is high-paced, very intense, and into self-employment. And that's not an easy feat either. So what did you learn with your career in politics? And what skills were you able to transfer to your current work as a CEO of a successful communications company?
Well, Evelyn, you know, oh my goodness, I learned so much during my career while I was in Tallahassee. Not only did I work at the Florida Capitol, but I volunteered with an organization there, Literacy Volunteers of Leon County. For me, community advocacy is extremely important. It always has been. At that time, with the literacy organization, I was in the capacity of fundraising chair, media relations chair. I was responsible for making sure that the local community got the information that they needed so that they could be able to provide assistance to this nonprofit. Now, the skills that I acquired while working at the Capitol, my goodness, well, I was director of constituent services. So that required me to be in a position where I could respond effectively in communication, communicating, whether it was verbally or in writing. I worked closely with the director of communications. I did a lot of things that now, in the capacity of being a CEO of a full service public relations and government relations consultancy, I still rely on. And in addition to working with individuals and helping to mold their brand and enhance their brand, I also work with individuals who are planning to or thinking about campaigning for public office. So I'm still able to pull all of that together in a cohesive way that makes sense.
And that's an impressive skill set, to say the least. Now, what do you offer that a large company can't offer?
Well, I don't produce widgets and gadgets, but one thing that I do that I know that my clients particularly have told me that they appreciate is that I provide what they see as a safe place to come if they're looking for a solution to their brand, if they're looking for an opportunity to have a problem solved. They know that they can come to me. We can provide consultation as well as hands-on service. And we're in a position where we can provide detailed assistance. I have a boutique organization, so unlike many others that may have a larger office with a huge staff, I can pay closer attention to their overall needs and objectives.
And that that speaks a lot for your work, because people right now are looking for that connection with anything and everything, even with service providers, and especially after having, experienced what everyone has gone through since 2020, that personal touch is so important, and to be able to trust the person you're working with right now. And I can resonate with that totally, because I do the same thing with my clients. I don't take on a lot of clients because I do appreciate and love to do that one-on-one and provide that detailed service. So I agree with you of the importance of that. Now, who do you actually serve? You mentioned people who are community leaders. Now, speak to us a little bit more so that people can understand, who do you serve and what services do you provide?
Well, wow, that's a good question. First of all, I serve individuals that have a product, service, or a mission of doing good things in the community. That's my priority. There have been times I've turned organizations down. I had to say, no, that's not something that we can do, because I don't simply work for the dollar. I work so that I can help to make a difference. So I work a lot with community leaders, faith-based organizations, entrepreneurs, business owners. We work with authors. We work with just a lot of different types of organizations that are doing good things.
Now, what exactly is branding and what exactly is public relations? Because I think people feel that if they're a startup, that's not something they're quite ready for, besides just getting a logo. But public relations entails so many other things. Could you explain that before you mention
public
the
relations and
services?
Right. But first, let me speak to the word publicist, because I think that's a word that a lot of people may be confused about as well. I am a publicist, and that means that I work to help bring exposure and manage publicity for whether it's an individual, can be a public figure, a business, or a brand. Okay, so in that regard, I work under the public relations umbrella, which is the organization that provides a host of services, such as media relations. That's one specialty area that I have. I'll write talking points and speeches. I may write press releases and strategically pitch to different media outlets to generate interview opportunities. We can put together a content strategy for your marketing materials, social media strategy, email marketing, government relations, press conferences like we did. We put together a press conference recently. Just a host of things that help to give you that exposure you're looking for.
How wonderful. And could you specify a little bit more some of the services? Let's say, for instance, in my case, I work with executive women in leadership. What would be, and I'm just pivoting my business to the online scene right now. In the past, I've gotten my clientele mostly from referrals. So I really didn't have this need for marketing, but now that I'm online, what type of services would I need in order to get my message out there, to have some visibility? What would you suggest?
Right. Well, one thing I would always recommend is networking. Never deny the importance of networking, especially in today's society. But if you're looking to make sure you get your word out effectively, start with your marketing foundation, of course, which is your website. Your website's going to be what the business card used to be. That's your website today. Your website, you want to make sure you have a connection with your target audience through social media networks. Wherever your audience is, that's where you want your social media influence to be. Social media. There's just so many different ways that you can get the word out, but look at your audience and see what it is that they need most, and then kind of go from there. You can host special events. That's something that I encourage. Special events where you invite them to come, whether it's a virtual or an in-person event.
Yes.
You can, my goodness, there's just a ton of different avenues that you can take if you're really trying to market yourself effectively these days. Video marketing, of course. You want to do some live video marketing. You want to you just want to be in a position where you are considered an influencer. So in that regard, I love LinkedIn, that platform LinkedIn. There's so many different groups that are there that are targeted to different industries. If there's not one that you see, then you can create one, and ultimately you can become what they consider as a thought leader by creating your own group and attracting individuals within that industry with the content that you're providing. Providing valuable content is always very key.
And right there, the audience has just received a few tips and strategies on what to do and how to begin. And now I'm interested, those are wonderful marketing strategies, branding strategies, and for people to get visibility. Now, what strategies have you used to maintain and grow your company? Because a lot of people think that having a business is just that, and you're making money all the time. And that's not really the case. It takes planning and structure, and you have to have a vision and think about the different quarters financially and strategically. Now, during 2020, what strategies did you use to maintain and grow your company?
Well, we know that 2020 was an unusual year for all of us, and difficult for many. What I did after getting in a position where I realized that business was not going to be the same for a while, I started to refocus on the areas of my business that I had put on the back burner. So I redesigned my website. That was the first thing I did.
Okay.
And I realized that people didn't necessarily have the same budget available to them for public relations and marketing and communications. So what I did also is I created packages where I could teach them how to do it themselves, DIY, if you will. I created coaching packages, weekly, monthly, packages that were customized to fit their individual budgets. I did a lot of consulting. I think when the economy is down, during a down market, that's the time that we can go inward and see where there may be some waste. There may be some areas where we can kind of clean up. It's a good opportunity for us to go back and get some training,
Absolutely.
There's just, I think it's a good time for us to really focus on those areas where we've kind of put aside. So that's what I did. I rebranded myself, and I created, I have a lot of authors that I work with, so I created what we call the Author's Blueprint. And it was a 2-week session where we came together. I had a dozen authors, 6 on one Saturday and 6 on another. And they were in a position, it was a virtual event, well received, but some of them were new authors, and some of them had been around for a while, and some were releasing brand new books, and some had, they just wanted to showcase some of their works that they've had over the years. But I allow them to be able to speak to challenges as well as successes of being an author. So that really, it bode well for my business and strengthening the brand as it pertains to being able to provide services for authors. I have what's called an author's toolbox. So I'm able to position myself to work with brand new authors that are looking for what we call a landing page and tools to be able to help them to reach their intended target as well. So
and something that's really interesting, that because a lot of people have been home since 2020, they have pulled out all those notes or were ignited to write that book they wanted to write. So a lot of people are writing about their work, about their experiences on a personal level. And it's been wonderful to listen to different people express their stories in such ways. And it's been also interesting, now that I'm a little bit more interested and focused on marketing online, I can see how some authors are much more successful than others in promoting their books. And it makes total sense to hire someone like you to help them with that process. Now,
absolutely. During the recession, well, this last year, I'll say, more authors than ever have actually, more people than ever have actually become authors. And I think that's because they say 82% of everyone says, one day I'm going to write a book,
yes.
But we never take the time or get the time to do it, So what happened when a lot of people were forced to be furloughed, they had nothing else to do but sit home, watch television or whatever, they took that time, they wrote their story. And yeah, I think that it's important that authors know that when you write your book and you may post it on Amazon or someplace like that, don't expect that they're going to shout your story from the rooftop. It's very important that if you're serious about getting the exposure and the return on your investment, especially, that you have someone dedicated to pitching your book, to pitching your service as well. Yeah.
And the book can be a variety of topics. Like you mentioned, you work with faith-based organizations. What are you seeing in that realm of services that you provide to that group, for instance?
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that. Yeah, I have noticed that many pastors who are also authors, who traditionally would write specifically to their particular church or religious belief, they've started to write more in the mainstream view. You're writing books and publications and producing materials that just about everyone can relate to, just materials that are inspirational without maybe having any scriptural references. I think right now is a time when everyone is kind of looking for something that they can hold on to in a time of need, So that's one thing I've noticed with the faith-based organizations, that they're appealing to the masses. I mean, what happened when the church doors were closed? you know, they had
Yes.
to go online. So I've also found that many of them have found more of a technical interest, you know, so they're realizing, okay, this is what I need to do in order to be able to go global, you know.
Right.
So we don't know when we're going to be able to go back to quote unquote normal, if there ever will be one. But I think many of them are realizing that, you know, for whenever that day comes, they're in a position now with technology, you know, to go live and be as effective, if not more, because they're reaching a more global audience.
And of the other community leaders, what groups are you also servicing?
My goodness. Well, fortunately, this week I had the opportunity to, with the Florida Education Association, I'm a consultant of that organization, and I had an opportunity to partner with the Classroom Teachers Association, and we had a press conference downtown that allowed us to be able to connect with the local community in support of the kids. You know, we know the situation with the masking and all, and so we have been able to get individuals that were members of the clergy, the classroom teachers, parents, just concerned individuals about the status of our children's health in the school system. We're able to kind of come together in a way that really made sense and to ultimately make a difference, to be able to implement some change that's going to be coming up very soon in our local Orange County area.
And that's amazing because you're impacting the community that way and creating pathways towards change, which is so significant at this time, you know, and I really appreciate that. And I wasn't able to attend. I do appreciate the invitation to attend that event. Because anything and everything that has to do with education and children is always a topic that I'm always looking out for and participating in different events. But I think that what you achieved was amazing. You are definitely a connector, and that's like one of your superpowers, apparently, because putting together all those stakeholders from the community to come together on common ground and to voice their opinions and their concerns is really, it takes time and effort. How
Yeah.
much time did you put into just that event? What's an average amount of time? I know everyone is different, but
Well, every event is different as well. And for this particular one, my goodness, well, I didn't have to put in a lot of time because there were other individuals involved as well. You know what I'm saying? And I came in probably the week before with in a position to be able to reach out to community leaders that I knew to be able to participate during the event. So when you have a lot of moving parts, it's always helpful to have collaborators in place that can help to help cushion the fall, so to speak, or make things a little bit more comfortable when you're doing something like that. So, but typically, you know, you want to start as soon as possible if you're working on a community event. That there's no particular date range that I would say. It just depends on the compassion that you have, and you just kind of go for it. Yeah.
Thank you. And I agree with that. And compassion is a word that I use very often in my work. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you. I met you years ago. We met at a networking event and we sat next to each other and we chatted about our businesses and our goals at that time. And I was just so excited to see you on LinkedIn and all. You have had so many wonderful achievements. And I read the article, I think it was in the Orlando Business Journal. You were interviewed, but I want to ask you, you've done so many great things and you've achieved so much. What is the most memorable to this day of the many things that have occurred in your life regarding your journey of entrepreneurship?
My journey of entrepreneurship. You know, I have to go back to the very beginning.
Really?
I knew I was on the right path shortly after starting my business. when I got a phone call from an internationally known publication. I
Oh,
knew that I was on the right path. I got a phone call from, actually, I have the magazine here,
oh,
Black
yes.
Enterprise. And Black Enterprise magazine reached out
Hmm.
and they interviewed me. They wanted to be able to showcase a woman of color who lives in the city of Orlando because they had an upcoming event. And so when I first got the phone call, I have to tell you, I thought it was a joke. I really did. I said, "Who is this?" And they're like, "Black Enterprise." I'm like, okay, I'm being punked, right? But they continued to talk, and then they said they're going to send in their photographer. And ultimately, I ended up having a 2-page feature story in this
My,
magazine, which was the largest. If I can turn to the page real
of
quick.
course, absolutely.
It was the
Sure.
largest article in the paper, and I mean in the magazine. And
And getting 2 pages on a magazine is a huge
two
thing.
pages, two
Absolutely.
pages, and
Oh my.
it positioned me kind of as an ambassador to the city. And so I was able to get literally calls from all over the country from individuals who, the way it's written, it kind of seems like I work with the city because I'm standing in front of City Hall. But this was an opportunity that afforded me great exposure. And so when I'm speaking to potential clients, I often refer to this and I say, look, this right here, this is what I do for a living, basically. I write press releases and I pitch to the media to help generate interview opportunity so that you can enhance your return on investment. There was no charge for this, okay? Of course, there's a charge for an initial press release, but when I pitch, whether it's television, newspaper, magazine, digital, there's no telling where it's going to end up. There's no telling where that story is going to end up or for how long. You know what I'm saying?
It's
So,
exciting,
so
yes.
this was, when you say what was one of the most memorable, I think, because I still have the magazine and this was years ago, this was one of the most memorable experiences that I had, because I remember picking up the photographer from the airport and we drove all over downtown trying to find the perfect location for a backdrop. Spent hours. And I still have people from time to time who will refer to the magazine and say, you know, I remember reading about you in Black Enterprise. You know, it talked about my business, what I like to do, where I like to go. It mentioned my website address. So it was an opportunity that will always be close at heart for me. And it's
I
something
bet.
that, yeah, absolutely.
And it's so impressive, and it's something to look back on. And you know, as an entrepreneur, we work so hard to achieve our goals, and it's not just about money. I mean, for a lot of people, it is. I mean, we do live off of our, you know, income that we generate from the business. However, there are other things that provide such satisfaction, and connecting with others in your case, where you're communicating constantly and developing different ways for people to become visible. You are creating beautiful memories for your clients, if you think of it, Vel, where your clients are achieving some of their dreams and their desires through the branding and the public relations services that you provide. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but you know, how do you feel about the work that you do? What do your clients tell you after they see themselves in a press release or an event has gone really well, and they've been able to increase their revenue and their exposure?
Well, you know, it's an honor for me, first of all, to have the opportunity to be in a position where I can make a difference for others. You know, it's not about the money. You're absolutely right. Yes, we do have to pay our bills. You know, we have to survive.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's about being able to feel good about what you've done and to have others to, you know, look favorably upon you. But my clients, I've had clients that were literally brought to tears.
Oh.
You know, I've worked with nonprofit organizations that needed the funds, you know, for some very critical needs. And we hosted events. And before the events were you know, initiated, they didn't know what they were going to do. They thought maybe they would have to go out of business. But they realize not only now do they not have to go out of business, but they're flourishing, and their constituents are in a position where they're they have a they have they feel good about the future. In essence, when you feel good about your future, when you can put somebody in a position where they feel good about their future and they feel good about themselves, to me, that's everything. So yeah, I've had clients that just really, and that's one reason why I think a lot of my clients would like to stay and continue to work with me, because they know that I'm always going to put them first. I'm always going to put their needs first. And I position them in their industry as not only a necessity, not only a commodity, but a necessity,
And I think that's one of the things that I gravitate towards the different people that I interview, because they're compassionate. It is about compassionate and courageous leadership at this time, and finding ways to conduct business in an ethical, compassionate, and caring manner.
Absolutely.
And that's something the world needs so much of right now. And that's why women right now, we are called to action, to speak up, to speak out, to stand in our power, and to most definitely express our talents and our skills. And that magic mojo that everybody has, why not? And you do it so well. And I'm so happy to know you, because hopefully in the future, I'll be able to use your services as well. Now, I know that you wrote a book. Could you talk briefly about the book and what people can expect from it and how they can obtain it?
3 Simple Steps for Media Relations Campaign. Actually, it's an ebook. That's what I call it. It's a tiny book. I am in the process of writing something that's a little bit more substantive with more pages. But yeah, this is just a general ebook, and it's designed to give step-by-step process for individuals that are looking to have a media relations campaign, so that they know what they need to have in order to be successful.
And how can people obtain the ebook?
You can just go to my website at www.vasajcommunications.com. That's V as in Victor, ASAJ, communications.com. And there's a tab there for the book that you'll see. You can purchase, download the downloadable file.
Okay, yes, and yeah, and just by the way, for the audience, I'll be posting that information in the comments below the video, and you'll be able to reach out to Belle. Is the website the best way to reach you for possibly contracting your services or learning more about your services? What would you suggest?
Well, I encourage someone that's interested in anything that's going to help give them exposure with whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit or whatever type of organization it is. I encourage them to go to my website first, so that they can see more of a detailed listing of the services that we provide and how we provide them, a little bit more background of who I am as well. And then they can reach out to me through the website. There's a feature that allows them to connect with me through the website, but they can also email me directly at vel@vasajcommunications.com. That's VEL @vasajcommunications.com.
Okay, great. So, and again, I'll be posting all of that in the comments for everyone to be able to access. And I suggest you all check the website out. You may think you're not ready for that step, but have a chat with Vel, because sometimes as entrepreneurs, we're always second guessing ourselves. We're sometimes what they call the imposter syndrome. Am I really an expert at this? Can I really do this? Can I really achieve this? And I know that Belle is such a heart centered entrepreneur, and she is the type of person that's very comfortable to talk to about any topic. And she is very able to guide you in terms of your best interest when it comes to branding and making sure that you're visible in a way that's appropriate for your line of business. Now, I mentioned you have that superpower of being a super connector. What would you say are other superpowers that you have?
Oh my goodness, superpowers. Oh my goodness.
What are you really good at with your work?
You know what? I think at the end of the day, it's my flexibility. Because, and I'm serious, my days are all very different. It really depends on my client's needs, but I am always juggling something in particular. And I think it's the flexibility that I have and maybe the patience level that I've acquired over the years. But my specialty area is media relations. So if someone is looking for an interview opportunity, I encourage them to contact me so that we can discuss a campaign that can help give them the exposure and the visibility that they're looking for. I'm also good at, let's see, there's just, I don't know, I guess it's all relative when it comes down to it. But I think I'm good at helping organizations to shine.
Oh,
You know, it doesn't depend on, it doesn't matter the industry. It's just helping organizations to shine in their respective light. You know, I'm good at sitting down and talking to you and finding out what your goals and objectives are, and then finding out where you want to go, short term as well as long term, and then finding a strategic approach that can best get you there.
wonderful. And communication is it. That's what it is, engagement and communication.
Absolutely.
And you definitely master that. Now, when it comes to your personal life and work, because your personal life, you know, it everything that happens in your personal life can affect positively or negatively your work and vice versa. So what would you say are tips or strategies or mindset that have worked for you to be successful? Not just get there. It's not about just getting there, is maintaining a level of success and growing. What has worked for you that you could suggest?
What has worked for me? Wow. Well, personally, I know I start my day with a focus on myself. I think it's important that we realize that our inbox will always be full, but but if we don't start with introspective time, and then for me, I have to start with the first hour of the day with a focus on myself, and that could be a walk. I will often take maybe a mile walk or some form of exercise. I try to make sure that I'm eating correctly. You know, it could be something as simple as a smoothie, or if I'm eating a full breakfast, it's something that's going to be nutritious that can help fuel my brain. And also for me personally, my spiritual walk, my mindset has to be right if I'm going to be successful in my business. So I try to stay as clear and focused as possible and not allow things to really upset me or get me down, and stay with a practical approach at life. Because I realize that, you know, we all have ups and downs. You know, we all have difficulties in life. You know, we're all human. So yeah, for me, that's where I have to, you know, realize that this is a season that's not easy for any of us. So we're all in this together. So
Yes.
I just kind of move on from there. And I think that this is a season that is a tremendous opportunity for us as business owners. I think a lot of people may be looking at the negative fallout. You know, of course, there's been a lot of tragedy over this last year and a half.
Yes.
But I think as business owners, there's a great benefit if we look at it from that vantage point.
And, you know, I appreciate that. And a lot of the people that I've interviewed are pretty consistent with talking about taking time for themselves. How much work life balance do you have? You know, are you working on it? Or what do you suggest for that?
But there's always a room for improvement.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if I like the word balance. Work-life balance, I have a problem with, because, you know, it's like a scale. When I think of that word, I'm thinking of a scale, and we're never really going to be 50-50.
No.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's going to be 60-40, you know, situations that come about in life that can just kind of blindside you, and you're like tilted like this. But I like to use the word harmony. That's, for me, at the end of the day, I like to know that
That works.
I'm at harmony. Things may not be perfect, but I'm in a position where I'm at peace with what I'm doing and where I am. So
That's wonderful. And trusting yourself and your thoughts, your words, your actions, your intentions with your work and your life are so important.
Yeah.
And I always speak to that and how important it is to know thyself. It continues to be essential to be successful in life and work. And the more we know ourselves, and sometimes we look at ourselves and we don't like everything we see, and that's okay. You know, there are things we can improve upon, other things we need to eliminate completely from our routines, our behaviors, and perhaps, and the words that we say. Sometimes we can sabotage our own success. Now, when it comes to success, and particularly regarding branding and public relations, give us some words of wisdom for that person that's back and forth with their branding. Do I hire someone for public relations to get that visibility, to shine, like you say? That's what you achieve with your clients. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for someone who's in a position where they're not sure what they need to do or what they want to do, of course, I encourage them to contact me, and I'd be more than happy to provide a free consultation. But I'd also encourage them to realize that they're not alone. You know, we're all in this together. And we all kind of started at the same place where we didn't know what to do. We didn't know where to go, you know. So I always say, you know, there are resources available to you. And now more than ever, all you have to do is you can Google if you want to, Google. But just realize that if you don't start, whether it's a new business or writing a book or doing something else, you know, if you don't start, then you'll never know the success that you may have had. You know, don't be discouraged, and don't allow anything to cause you to feel uncomfortable to the place where you put it aside and you feel, you know, like someone else is better than you. You know, you just have to take that first step. And sometimes it's as simple as having a consultation with an expert in the arena that can give you the guidance that you need to be able to move forward.
And I love that, what you said about not feeling uncomfortable. You know, sometimes we have the tendency of comparing ourselves to others that are further along the path of entrepreneurship and or any aspect of life. And we really just need to focus on ourselves. And you can be in a room with 20 different branding experts, and everyone's going to have a different take on it. Everyone's going to have a different perspective, a point of view, and innovative ways, hopefully, of going about branding and other aspects of marketing. And so focusing on yourself is the most important thing. And yes, learn from those that are further ahead, but you still have to create your own magic with the work that you do, with the talents that you bring to the table, the skill set and the experiences, because it's a combination of everything, your life experiences and how they transfer into your work and how you engage with others. Now, sadly, we're coming to an end, and there's so many more questions that I could ask, but if anyone is interested in learning more about Vel's services, which are extraordinary. I went through all of her material, her website, and the articles that I read about her. And I have yet to read the ebook. But I suggest that you access that as well and download that ebook just to get those juices flowing, and let Belle guide you with that process. Are the initial consultations, what's the process for that?
They can go to my website, and there's a form that just has a few questions that would help me to be able to better understand their need. Once they complete that brief form and click on submit, it comes to me, and then we can schedule a discovery call from there.
Okay, great.
I'll
And that's a
contact them.
complimentary call then.
Oh, of course.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, everyone. So you just heard it from Belle Johnson. She's got the complimentary discovery session to provide you with. And of course, there's an important step to take with that, which is completing that form. And I think a lot of people are doing that right now, because it does help for different business owners to be able to be laser focused on a discovery conversation with potential clients. And even if, someone isn't hired, that just establishing that connection can open the doors in terms of gaining some insight and new perspective regarding your branding and your visibility in the online world. And Belle Johnson is an expert, so I highly recommend Belle Johnson for that purpose. And I want to thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to speak about before we sign off that maybe I didn't ask you about?
Well, what you mentioned earlier, you asked me about branding, what is branding and all, but what I wanted to say is brand enhancement. Sometimes it's not so much of what you're doing, but it's in changing the way that you're thinking, because that's where it starts. Your brand starts from within. Mm-hmm. And it's not your logo. It's not any one particular thing. Your brand is, if you're an organization, actually, your brand is the emotions that are evoked when people are not around. When you're not around, what are people saying about you? What do people think about you? That's your ultimately that's your brand. The people. What do people say and think that would cause them to want to use your services? I want to encourage people to take that step. If you've ever thought about writing a book, if you've ever thought about doing anything that's out of the ordinary, that you would consider maybe out of the ordinary, don't allow anyone to discourage you. Take that initial step and realize that you're not alone. And if you need assistance, if you need someone to talk to about it, realize that there are resources out there like myself, people who have been there. I've been in business for 15 years now. I've been doing this for 15 years. It's not a hobby. It's something that I do every day in and day out. I get up and I'm thinking about other organizations and how I can work to enhance what they're doing, how I can work with community organizations and groups to be able to make our world a better place. So I guess if there was anything I wanted to say, that would be it in a nutshell. Focus within, realize your brand starts within, and everything else emanates from that. And just step out on faith. And I mentioned earlier about the tree climbing. Well, I was a kid and I didn't realize that ultimately I would still be, in essence, going out on a limb.
You sure have.
And as an entrepreneur, that's what we do,
Yes,
when I started my business, I put everything behind me. I left a very lucrative job. I left the job I had. I had a gorgeous 3-bedroom home that I sold. I had a wonderful circle of friends, and I picked up everything. I packed up and I moved to a city where I didn't know anyone.
Wow.
Okay. But my goal and objective was to be in a position where I could be able to chart my own course and achieve my own destiny. And I felt like I could only do that as a business owner, where I could select my own clients and the people that I want to work with and interact with on a daily basis. So I just wanted to, if that helps anyone who is struggling, just know that if I could do it, here I am 15 years later, and I've never looked back.
How wonderful.
Of course, there's been challenges along the way, of course,
but
it's also the most gratifying thing that I've ever considered doing. And
I appreciate those words, because I do want for the audience, anyone considering to become an entrepreneur or is, and we are having such critical times right now in different businesses, different industries, more so than others. And it takes a lot of creativity, innovation, and connections, because sometimes having access to people like Mel to give you input on your business, because she is a business strategist, to market and expose yourself and just express yourself, like she says, from within, because that's what it's really about. And I want to thank you so much to my very special guest. She's truly an extraordinary woman of guts and grace, and that's what it takes to do business. And Belle Johnson, business strategist and the CEO of Vasaj Communications. And I'll be sure to post her information so that you can reach out to her, obtain the ebook, and hopefully a discovery session to get some clarity and some insight, a new perspective about the direction of your visibility strategies for your work. And it also helps for your life, believe it or not. And as I always sign off, thank you again, Vel. I appreciate you. And I hope you can stay online with me a few minutes so we can chat after I sign off here. All right?
Absolutely. Evelyn, thank you for this opportunity. It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And as always, I sign off. Much self-love, much compassion and benevolence. You deserve it. Vel deserves it. I deserve it. And everyone around us deserves it too. Keep the peace, and we'll see you next time for the next episode 24 of the Extraordinary Women of Guts and Grace podcast. Thank you, Vel Johnson. It was great talking to you, and hopefully we can talk more about some of those amazing projects, or when you have your book ready to launch as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.